everybody. So glad you're here today. Whether you are joining us from Facebook or YouTube or your BBA portal, wherever it is, we are super glad that you're here. Tonight's training is one that I know is probably going to hit home for almost every single owner out there because we are talking about culture. And here's the thing,
Yeah.
guys, almost every salon owner that we talk to, they tell us things like, we have a great culture. They'll say things like, my team gets along. We're like family. There's no drama. We have a really good vibe. We hear it all. Trust me. But here's the truth that I need you to hear: culture always feels fine until accountability enters the room. So, the minute that you try to enforce a policy or you hold someone to a standard, that's when you find out what your culture is really built on. We're going to give everybody just a few minutes to pop in and get stuff going. But that is the discussion for tonight. We also have an amazing free resource for you. So be sure that you grab that before you hop off. Chandra, you have anything to say before we get started?
No, I think that this subject is going to be really good. I feel like many salons struggle with this, so I think it's going to be very helpful for you guys. So I hope that you guys will download the resource and use the stuff that we're going to go over.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, guys. We both have been in your shoes. I thought for the longest time that I had a fantastic
Mhm.
culture, when in reality, it wasn't so much that way. Like not even close to what I thought it was, right? When I was in the room and I was doing what people wanted, everything was hunky dory. But the second that I stepped out, or the second that I actually started creating policies or procedures or systems, that's when things got a little hairy. How was it for you, Chandra?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I thought we were all good and everything was, we had a great culture and everybody knew what they were supposed to do and everybody was working towards the same thing. And then again, kind of the same thing. It's like once you start really trying to make changes as the owner or really trying to up level your leadership, you start realizing that they aren't necessarily on board and they aren't actually wanting the same things that you want. And then they start to halt your efforts in trying to create that culture. So, yeah, 100%. I've had the same experience. Not
Yeah,
anymore, luckily, but
that's a
definitely
good
been
thing.
there. Yes.
Absolutely. I think tonight we just need to kind of explain why culture is so important, like the real type of culture, and maybe coach everybody through how entitlement sneaks in, because it does all the time, why accountability usually goes missing in salons, and how you can actually reset your culture without blowing up your entire business or your entire team, because it's very, very possible. So we are going to go deep because I'm here to tell you, if you don't get this part right, it does not matter how good your marketing is, how talented your team is. None of those things matter. Your culture will eat all of that alive if it isn't good. 1,000,000%. So I think where we probably need to start is entitlement culture. And that never comes from bad people. It doesn't come from lazy people. A lot of people think that for some weird reason, and that's not where it is. Most of the time, it's created by you. Yes, you, the owner. It is, but it's usually done on accident. And here's what that kind of looks like. You maybe give a raise just because someone has been around a long time and they make you feel guilty, not because they've earned it, but because you feel that way, right? You promote someone out of desperation because you want to keep them on the team. You need their help, you need their revenue, you need whatever it is, even though maybe they're not ready for the role that you're putting them in or the new level that you're putting them into. You tend to reward tenure instead of results. And I was notorious for doing this. One of the biggest things that I see is owners do this because they want to avoid conflict. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but that's exactly how it was for me. I did not want the conflict. You don't want to rock the boat. So what do? You let so many things in your business slide that end up hurting you tremendously in the long run. You don't want to create drama, so you soften the standard, right? To make everybody happy, to please everybody. But when you do that, your policies They stop being actual standards and they start being what I like to call suggestions. And that's a really, really bad place to be in. When your policies are suggestions, your culture is already slipping. It's going downhill and it's going downhill fast. So let me ask you this. How many of you out there have ever let something slide because you didn't want to deal with the blowback? I bet there are a ton of people nodding their head along with us, raising their hand, doing whatever. Maybe somebody was late. Maybe someone skipped tracking the numbers that they were supposed to track. Maybe somebody broke the freaking dress code. You let it slide once, then twice, then 10 times, and then probably 100. It just kept going, right? That is usually the first crack where entitlement really starts to sneak in. Chandra, when you see things like this happening, or when you saw it happening in your own business, people just letting things slide so that they can keep the peace, what usually happens inside of the team when the owner is allowing that?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that happens is they lose respect for the owner and they lose respect for the business, because it's like it doesn't matter anymore. And they're all just kind of doing whatever they want, and they're not going to get in trouble for it, or they don't have to uphold the standard, right? So I think that they just stop respecting you. And that's what we see with so many salons that we work with too, is they end up in that space where their team doesn't listen to them and their team doesn't care, and they can't get policies in place, and they struggle to get everybody moving in the right direction. And it's because they let things slide for so long that they've kind of lost that part of the business where the team actually cares about where the business is going, and that they respect the owner and what they're trying to do as a leader, because they've kind of lost that. So I think that's the biggest thing that I see. I mean, I know I had to bring myself back from that as well at one point many years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've all been there, and that's the thing. But the difference is, once you notice it and once you start really seeing things, you have to get yourself out of it, right? The way that both of us have. And I think that is one of the biggest frustrations that I myself as a coach see with other commission salon owners, is that they recognize it. They know it's there. They know it's happening, yet they choose to just continue doing the same things. In fact, a lot of you out there, you will stop coaching or stop talking to your mentor or stop doing things because this is the one thing that you don't want to fix. But I promise you guys, until you get this fixed, there's nowhere else to go. Like, this is going to be the reason that everything falls apart. I think there are two root causes of a weak culture, and we need to talk about those. I just think everything can kind of be traced back to these two things. The first one is what I call the busy owner cycle. I don't know any other way to put it. This happens when you, the owner, are just buried behind the chair, right? Which the majority of you are. You are servicing clients nonstop. You're exhausted. And because of that, boundaries, they're never really set. Instead of putting real structure in place, you just repeat yourself 100 times, 1,000 times, and hope people will finally get it someday. The team hears the words, but they never see the follow through from you. And so why would they really listen to anything? I mean, the result is predictable, right? The entitled people are going to thrive because they know that you're not going to do anything, nothing about it. The good people are going to burn out because they feel like they are carrying the weight for everybody else. And you, the owner, you are going to end up extremely resentful because your team isn't doing what you think they should just automatically know to do. And this is something that we see over and over. The second root cause is when the owner wants to be part of the team instead of the leader that they should be. This is when you care more about being liked than you care about being respected. And that is probably going to step on some toes, but it is absolutely true. You want this vibe to be good, so you just avoid uncomfortable conversations or situations. But when you choose to be the friend over being the leader, your authority starts disappearing very, very quickly. Accountability then feels optional in everything that your team is doing. And now you are going to be stuck in this exhausting middle. It's kind of this space where you're not really their boss. You're not really their buddy. I don't care what they say. You're not. And you're completely drained just trying to find the middle ground of being both. I've been there. Chandra, what do you think happens long term when an owner leans into being everyone's friend or buddy instead of stepping into the leadership role that they need to be in?
I think you're not going to grow, number one, because there's no accountability with your team to grow. They don't care about growth. And I think the other thing is, in the end, the long-term effects is you will lose those relationships and you will lose those friends, because at some point it starts to become more about them than it is about your business, and that it is about the job they're supposed to do and what the purpose is. And so if you try to do anything that is trying to make the business better, put a policy in place, they won't care. They won't respect it. They won't, it doesn't matter to them, because they know, hey, she's not going to make me do this. Everybody else has to do this, but I don't have to do this because she's not going to make me do it. Right. And then you start having that resentment, like you said, and you start having all those issues, and long term, it never works ever. I mean, I feel like usually they end up leaving, or you never grow.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, accountability, for some reason, there is this misconception around it, right? People think that it's being harsh or it's being mean, but it's about fairness. When you really look at it in the big scheme of things, it's about fairness. It's about clarity. Accountability is simple. It's just simply clear expectations and consistent follow through. That's all it is. People make it to sound like this huge ordeal that it is, and it isn't. But the part that most owners miss is accountability. It has to be tied to something measurable. And I think that is the part that I missed for years and years and years. I would try to hold people accountable, but there was nothing measurable to hold them accountable to. So it was like I was being this big meanie with nothing to show for, right? Like I could gripe at them over everything, but I had no data to back that up. I had nothing to show them. I had nothing to tell them. You can't just tell your team, do better. You have to be able to say, here's the number that we're aiming for. Our rebooking percentage should be at 60%, and it's not. Our productivity needs to be at 80%, and it's not, right? You have to have those things. When accountability is tied to facts, when it's tied to data, when it's tied to numbers, the conversation then becomes neutral. You're not managing feelings anymore. You are managing performance, which is exactly what you should be doing. But when you don't have those benchmarks, when you don't have that data, accountability becomes very personal. And that is a big problem. That's when things really kind of start to spiral. Chandra, what do you say to the owner who is out there and they are worried that accountability is just going to push their team away completely?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to start doing it when you haven't done it before. So I will say it definitely can be challenging to start doing it, but it's not impossible, right? Like it's about creating a space where everybody is working towards the same general outcome, where everybody wants to grow, where everybody wants to thrive. And they can't do that if there is no accountability for following through with the things that you have in place. So at the end of the day, it's really about you helping them build their amazing career, and everybody's working together to build your amazing salon. And you have to have accountability for that. It's not about going around and being like, hey, you didn't make your numbers. Guess what? I'm writing you up or you're in trouble. I think that's what the owners think is what they should be doing. You know what I mean? Instead of seeing the other side to be like, hey, we're going to get you to make 100K a year. Let's do that. These are the things we need to put in place to do that. And I'm going to be here to help you do that. Well, my job to be able to do that is to hold you accountable for doing the things you need to do to be able to reach those goals. And we both have a mutual goal, right? Of you making as much money as you want and me getting this salon to a certain level. So we work together. And that's to me what accountability is. It's not running around yelling at everybody all day long and telling them they're breaking rules. It's getting them aligned with that vision, and then helping them stay on track for reaching those goals to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is, once again, a big misconception, right? Like we see owners in our brains, we see accountability as this micromanaging type thing that we have to do. And it is the opposite. Kind of off topic, but my husband and I were actually just talking about this the other day. And I'm going to use our kids for an example. We have two daughters, right? About 3.5 years apart. Oldest did everything for her, like everything, made every excuse in the book, held her hand, wiped her butt till she was 20. Not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like, totally, like, no accountability on her part whatsoever. Youngest, very, very much different. She was kind of daddy's girl. She kind of followed daddy's lead. That child, so accountable for every decision that she makes. But it makes you like, we didn't have to be harsh with her. We didn't have to be mean to her. We didn't have to do anything. We had to set the example. We had to set the systems that she needed to abide by, right? And she is 100 steps ahead of sometimes where our oldest is because of that. And when you look at it that way, it's so different. I'm going to tell each and every one of you guys, I could have never built 100K stylist without having a good culture and accountability. There is no possible way. I tried it for 8 years. It never happened. I couldn't get out from behind the chair. I couldn't pay myself for being the CEO. I wasn't profitable. I wasn't any of those things until accountability became part of my game plan with running my business. So I think we've got to talk about, how do you reset a culture once it's gotten off track? Because I've done this plenty of times before I finally got it right. And maybe you're out there realizing now that you have let things just completely slide, and it's okay. We have all been there. You've purposely avoided this conflict, and now your culture feels maybe more in control of you than you feel of it. The good news is you can reset it without blowing anything up, because that is, Chandra, would you say that is the number one fear that people have when we start coaching them?
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. Once they start hearing they have to hold their team accountable, they start panicking that everybody's just going to leave.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I was scared. I was terrified. And I'm really glad that I didn't talk myself out of actually going through with it, because had I would still be sitting at $300,000 a year instead of over $2 million a year. So, and I would still be behind the chair trying to pick up everybody's slack and trying to cover all the gaps for my team, as would you have, right? And here's the thing, guys, this is something that you don't realize. Like, Chandra had to be coached through this at one time as well. All of us did. At some point, all of us did. I was the stubborn one that figured it out on my own, which was really, really stupid. I'm glad I did now, but it was really, really dumb, because you can get the help. But I don't care who they are. Anybody out there that you see that has been successful, they've all dealt with this stuff at one point or another. But you can reset everything without blowing it up. And the framework that you have to use is observation, impact, and expectation. That's it. Like, it's that simple. Observation is simply stating the facts of what you've seen. Impact is kind of explaining how that behavior affects either the salon, the team, the clients, whoever it is, or all of the above. And then expectation is setting the standard going forward and holding their feet to the fire. That's the biggest part. You have to hold them to the fire. Chandra, when you've seen owners actually go through maybe a reset like this, because this is kind of how we teach it, what is one of the biggest shifts that makes the biggest difference?
I think that when the owners really start to lead with their vision and start to actually, work with the team to be supportive and get them all kind of working in that same direction to reach their big goals, I think the biggest thing that they realize is that everybody actually wants those things, and it's easier to get them in line with it than they thought it was going to be. And I feel like it's always very challenging in the beginning, even with the owners, to get them to realize that's how it's supposed to go, and not that you're just supposed to walk around and yell at everybody, because we've had a lot of them that start trying to do that, and we're like, no, that's not what we mean. You got to actually start leading your team And I think that's kind of the biggest aha moment that they have. And I think that they start to realize, oh, actually my team wants to do these things. My team actually wants to be part of this, and they actually want to do this. You just never knew because you weren't holding them accountable for those things or trying to get them in line with that vision. So I think that's the biggest, change I see when we start going through that process.
Yeah, I think so too. I can think of so many members that we have right now who were very, very scared of this in the beginning. And within 30 days, they were like, oh my gosh, I noticed this, or two people leveled up, or people are making more money than they've ever made, or things of that nature. They were like holding them accountable. What? Who knew, right? And it really, really does make a big difference. One of the most effective ways I think to kill entitlement culture or entitlement in your business is to replace it with structure. Period. Like mic drop, period. It's the answer. When your team has no clear path, they are going to start expecting everything: raises, promotions, special treatment, just because they've been there a while, or just because they think you like them better, or whatever it is. But when you actually create level systems and benchmarks, right? Career growth, it becomes earned and not handed out. And that will change everything in your business. And when you build things like leadership roles, team leads, educators, department heads, those roles have to come with accountability as well. I have seen so many people just put managers in place just because they've been there forever, right? Or they think they'll be good. It's not just a title, it's not just prestige, it is real responsibility. That is how you take entitlement and you turn it into purpose. And that is how you get yourself out from behind the chair so that you can focus on the numbers, become profitable, and build the legacy that you want. Chandra, when you were doing this in your business, how did it affect you in a way that you didn't think it would? How did it change your life when you actually started putting accountability into place?
Yeah, I mean, when I started putting that structure into place, I started following through with the structure I put into place. I want to emphasize that because we all think we put structure in place and we're like, cool, we're good. We put all these things in place, but we didn't actually use it. So when I started actually using the structure I put into place for these things, I felt like I had like freedom, right? Like everybody started working in the direction they were supposed to work in, and everybody started following through with the things they were supposed to follow through with. And I didn't feel like I was micromanaging anymore. And I didn't feel like I was having to force them to want to be successful anymore. Like it changed all of those things. And I think that's, for me, that was like the biggest thing I got from it was like, wow, I don't have to be the one doing this now. They do it themselves. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? Like you're the leader, you're the coach, you're the guide. But when you put systems in place and when accountability is there, they almost coach themselves in a way. Like, and that is a great, you want to talk about a good culture? That is the type of culture you want to build. And I think that's where we have to talk about YOU, like the salon owners, because culture starts and ends with you as the owner. If you are going to continue being inconsistent, your culture is going to be inconsistent. You cannot enforce a policy one week and then ignore it the next. Yes, I'm talking to you out there. I know you're doing this. I did it forever. You cannot do that. It doesn't work. You can't move the goalpost just because you're tired. Your team is watching you every second. Consistency matters more than charisma. That is something that an old mentor told me. And at the time, it didn't really make sense. But then I started thinking about it does make sense. I don't have to be the most inspiring. I don't have to be the most motivational leader that there is. I just have to be the most consistent person in the room. And if you want accountability from your team, you have to model the accountability yourself. You really, really do. Chandra, why do you think so many salon owners have such an issue with this? Like they'll start out great, or they're gung ho, or they're this, or they're that, and then it dips, and then it's back up, and then it dips. It is so inconsistent.
I think because to get it to the point where it gets easier, it is a lot of work. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of owners are behind the chair, they're trying to juggle, or they get pushback from an employee and then they start to freak out a little bit and backpedal. So I think that it's just you don't realize how much work it's going to be. You just hear these kinds of things like what we're talking about today, and you're like, cool, I can do that. And then you start doing it, but you realize like to keep doing it over and over again, that takes time and that takes a lot of effort, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of pivoting and changing along the way. And I think it's just hard to do that. And I think sometimes we just don't realize the level of effort we have to put in to make those changes. Once you get it there though, then your life, like I said, it gets easy. You get freedom, you get things back.
Life
But it's
changing.
like working 100 times harder, 1,000 times harder than you thought to get it there in the beginning and to make those changes.
You know what though? Like I agree with you to an extent, but when I look back over my journey, I think I worked just as hard before I had anything in place, any accountability, as I did creating the accountability. It was harder on me than it was anybody else, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Mhm.
after the fact, holy crap, like massive difference. It's insane. I say this all the time. I had a team of let's just say 14 people, and we were making $300,000 a year, right? No accountability, no structure. We had a level system, didn't look at the numbers, didn't do anything. I put accountability in place. I changed my systems. I got rid of half of my team, practically got a new team of 6 or 8 stylists, and we tripled, quadrupled, and then 10x our revenue, all because the accountability was in place. What kind of numbers difference did you see in your studio when accountability like came into play and it was the main focus?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think pretty quickly we saw an increase of at least, 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
And I mean, just continuously going up every single year, even if we have sometimes a bad month here or there, overall, every single year is constantly growing and constantly going up. And if we weren't doing that and, keeping everybody on track and doing what they need to be doing, I don't think we would have hit those numbers, let alone continued to grow every single year the way that we do.
100%. And something else you guys have to remember is accountability isn't doing it for a week. It's not doing it for 30 days. It's not doing it for 60 days, especially if you have been an owner for a long time and had a team for a long time. You have to prove yourself all over again. That's harder than starting all over in all reality, right? You are going to have to prove yourself every single second of every single day for a very long time. Now, eventually, your team has to come around. They can't keep holding things over your head or things of that nature, or you've got to make some changes. But it is going to take time. It's going to take trust, and it's going to take everybody working together to actually make that work. All right, guys, we went over just a little bit, but I want to open it up for Q&A really quickly. So drop your questions in the chat. They can be about anything related to salon ownership. This is where we can really get practical about what's going on inside of your business right here, right now. While we are waiting for questions, I know it's a holiday. There's a lot of people that are gone. We are going to go through a few that we got from our last BBA Live and some that we actually got from our podcast. So by the way, if you guys aren't following our podcast, The Station, it's on all platforms. You're missing out. There's some great info, so go follow it. All right, Chandra, here we go. How Oh, this is fitting. How do I enforce policies without losing my best stylist? What do
Well,
you think?
I mean, I've been there. I've done that. I had to reinforce a lot of policies for my best stylist. For me, what I would say the biggest thing that I did that really, really worked in those situations was I really sat down with them and we got real on what it was that they wanted, right? Like finding out like what are their goals? Have they hit their glass ceiling? Are they making the money they want to make? Do they have the schedule they want to have? Like really trying to find out on their level where they were at, because then that way when I enforced the policies, it was really about being able to put these things in place that are going to help them reach those goals. And
Mm,
so it was a lot easier for me to get some of those stylists that have been around a really long time or that have been with me for a really long time who never had to follow some of these kinds of rules, to start doing it, because it became more about where can we take you, because these things are what are going to level us all up and are going to level you up too. And so that's how I was able to align. And I had quite a few of those people. I have people working for me that I used to be the assistant for. So that tells you like how long they've been around and how stuck in their ways some of them are, right? And so I think you can really get any of them, kind of to work in that way, as long as you guys are working together, is kind of how I see it, like really working together for that goal. So if you have those ones that are hard to flip or get them in line, I think find out how you can help them reach their goals so that they can understand that's why the policy is there.
I agree. I think accountability, it doesn't drive the right people away. It actually keeps them, right? If you lose someone because you ask them to follow the same standards that everybody else is having to follow, you didn't lose a team member. You lost someone who was never going to align long term anyway. The stylists that want to grow, who want stability, who care about your team and your business, they actually crave structure. They really, really do. It protects their income. It makes the salon a place that they are proud to work at. Enforcing policies, it's not about pushing people out. It's about protecting the ones that are truly invested. And this is something that I saw when I started holding my team accountable, holding myself accountable, and doing the things that I needed to do. I was able to weed out the bad ones, keep the good ones, and we were able to, just $300K in a year to over $1.2 million the following year. That says volumes for everything. All right, Chandra, what if I've let things slide for years? I feel like let's move to another one. I feel like we kind of answered that one. Mm-hmm. How do I know when it's time to let someone go versus keep coaching them? We get this a lot.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that way too long. I don't do that anymore. So I think the biggest thing is you work with them to a point, right? Like if they're not going to finally fit into the standards or the culture, the things that you want, don't waste a ton of time on them. I think you can tell within the first 90 days at the longest if they're going to fit into the culture and if they're going to be able to work the way that you want them to work. And that's okay if they're not a good fit. And I think that's what you have to realize too sometimes is you don't need to help everybody become whatever it is, right? Like that's where I was stuck, is I could see potential in people and I'm like, hey, we're going to make this work. We're going to get this. And years would go by and we'd still be in the same place, right? So I think, if somebody's not fitting into your policies, your culture, your things, they will fit somewhere else. So I say, let them go fit somewhere else, because then they can actually thrive as well. And so we've even helped people find jobs in other places that I know I needed to help that be a better fit for them. Right. So I give it no more than 90 days. Like that's kind of our max. If we see that happening, we know right away it's not going to work.
Yeah, I don't think you should let anything go over 90 days, especially in a situation like that. We do the same thing. Like I have sent many people to another salon in the area. They are a Summit salon, but she definitely runs it a little bit differently. And I know that their personality, the way that they work, everything is going to be just fine over there. And so I send them that way. I know they're going to be able to grow somewhat. I know they're going to make good money. I know they're going to, be successful. We are just night and day different. And so that's what I kind of do. And yeah, I would say I'm probably a little more hard. I tend to, with people that I have strong feelings about, I cut the head off the snake as quick as possible, but I definitely give them time. So agree with you 100%. All right, this one says, I am scared to raise my prices. How do I know if it's time?
It's always challenging, right? But I think at the end of the day, like you have to, if you, especially if you aren't meeting expenses or if you don't have enough cash flow or things like that, 9 times out of 10, when we start coaching salon owners, we get into their pricing and we find out that their pricing is not where it even should be in the first place. And they're losing money on tons and tons of services. And so at some point, like you don't have a choice. So you need to try to get over the fear and really, you might need to sometimes we just have a price increase. Like we don't we don't even really say anything anymore. We used to feel like we had to send emails and do all these things, but most of the time, most people don't. They understand. You might get one or two that you have to explain, but the fear is really, I think, mostly in your head. I think a lot of the time, unless you're going up like 50% or 30% or something really high, most people don't even really notice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, I have always used this analogy. When I was coaching for another company, I said this like 8 years ago, and I was like, the grocery store, they don't give you an email or a pamphlet that you take home that says, we are raising our prices next week on X. No, doesn't happen. There is no reason that your business has to either. I understand that you feel loyalty to certain people, but at the end of the day, you are a business owner. You have to stay in business. People rely on you, and so does your family. And so you have to raise prices when it is necessary. But I would also say you have to understand your business numbers. You need to know what your cost per hour is. You need to know so many things so that you can make sure that you are raising those prices correctly so that you don't have to do these surprise increases all the time, or increases in a way that's $50 more per service, right? When you learn those numbers and you are relying on your data, it makes life so much easier because you can see things in real time and you know exactly what you need to do. All right.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get my team on board with retail without sounding salesy? We just created a brand new class on this. So go for it, Chandra.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I always tell my team, right? Like if I took all of your products away from you and told you to do this blowout, how's that blowout going to come out, right? Like how can you expect your clients to go home after you just gave them this new look and style their hair right? I just think you're doing them a disservice, and I think it's really starting to change the mindset of your stylist as to those kinds of things. Like how are you're sending them out the door with nothing, right? Like they can't recreate the look at home, so guess what, they're going to blame you for doing a bad haircut because they just don't
Yep.
know how to style it. And it's not about selling product at the end of the day. I mean, we need the profit margin, right? Like we need those things, but you're doing a disservice to your clients by not offering it, by not recommending it. And as the stylist, you're the expert. You're the one that should know what this person needs and know what to recommend them to help with the things that they need help with. And so we really try to frame it like that, because that's really all we're doing. At the end of the day, we're recommending things that are going to maintain what we've given them, and they need to take those things home because they're investing a lot of money in their hair. So that's not salesy to me. That's just doing your job.
No, in a simple sentence, recommending the product that could help them is not avoiding sales, it is withholding solutions for your client.
Mhm.
Period, right?
Yep.
You have to teach your team to focus on education. You have to. And you have to track the results of that too. So many owners out there have no idea what retail sales are or how that's going. And you need to track the results of that, but also with the clients too. One of the things that we did for a long time, which actually reminds me we need to do again, is we got results from our client. Oh my gosh, that shampoo, it changed my life, right? That oil, holy cow. I used to leave the salon, get frustrated 2 weeks later, but now that I have this product, life changing. So make sure that you're tracking those type of results. All right. My payroll is eating. Oh, this one's for you. My payroll is eating up profit. What do I do?
Well, there's a lot of factors to that, unpack that one, but basically you don't have your payroll set up for your expenses and the things that you have. And so you've really got to understand your numbers and know that whatever kind of payroll structure you have set up is going to be beneficial for not only you, but for the team members as well, because you can set it up that way. But so many, I don't know what your payroll looks like, but I would assume you're probably paying either crazy high commission or you're not priced right for profit. So you're not bringing enough money in to cover the payroll in the first place. And so you've really got to start by, knowing your numbers, understanding how much money do you even have to pay payroll, like to afford payroll based on your sales and based on what you have coming in, and then basing your commission structure off of that. And I think that's the only way to get out of that hole. Unfortunately, that can be a very challenging thing to climb out of, but you have to have a budget for it. And we do that. You can give us a call and we can help you with that, because that there's more to unpack with that. But if you don't know your numbers and you're just paying some random crazy commission scale, that's never going to work.
Yeah, 100%. This is something that you really need help with. I'm not going to lie. I think that my life would have changed so much sooner if I would have found somebody who understood this. And I'm not going to lie, it's really disappointing. We all have CPAs, we all have accountants, we all have those things, and we should be able to depend on them to do that for us. But realistically, it's not their job, right? I say this all the time when I'm coaching salon owners. Your accountant is your rearview mirror. They tell you what you did. You have to be your own windshield, like front windshield, and know where to drive, what to do, where to go, right? And so it's really important that you learn this. And Chandra is absolutely correct. We have something that can help you. No brainer. It'll help tremendously. Okay. Here's the last one. I mean, we have a ton more, but I don't want to go over time. So I feel guilty when I'm not behind the chair. How do I ship that? I never felt guilty for not being behind the chair. So this one is kind of hard for me. But I would say that guilt comes from a belief that service work is the only real work that there is. And that makes me so freaking angry. Your true role is the CEO as a business owner. That's what it should have been from the beginning. It should be coaching your team, running your numbers, planning your marketing. That is what leadership is. And business owners that don't do that, that's a problem. Your chair generates income, but your leadership will multiply it. I stand by that every single day. Every hour you step out from behind the chair to lead, and if you're leading well, it's worth 10 hours behind that chair, 100%. But I want to hear from Chandra, because this is not something that I ever felt guilt with. My focus was taking care of my employees. And I knew in order to take care of them, I could not be behind the chair. If I wanted to take care of my employees and my family, my spot was in that CEO role. So when it came time, did it. So go for it, Chandra.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of guilt about this in a lot of different ways. I think I had guilt in 3 different ways. So I felt guilty for my clients because I had them for so many years that I was like, oh, what are these people going to do? I can't leave them hanging, right? So I felt guilty about that. And then I felt guilty because I was like, well, if they don't see me cranking behind the chair, what kind of role model am I? Like, am I not working hard enough? Like that, there was that part of it too. And then I think the other part of it was because I was the top producer. I was like, oh my gosh, is the salon going to just close the door tomorrow if I stop working behind the chair? Like, how's this going to work, right? So I understand that guilt. I don't know which part or all 3 that you might be feeling guilty about, but I think that it is hard to make that decision. But at the end of the day, just like what Bree said, like my goal was not to crank behind the chair for the rest of my life. And my goal was to build a salon that was successful with a successful team. And the only way that I could do that was to finally stop working behind the chair, quit being a baby and quit being guilty about it, and just get it together and start running the business from that other side. And that's when we started to see massive growth and massive change, and things changed. And I don't feel guilty about it at all anymore. I don't even know what my problem was.
I remember telling you this, and it was years ago, but I remember telling you, Chandra, if you close tomorrow, every single one of those clients would find a new salon immediately. They would text you, yes, but they would go find a new salon. You guys have to think of it that way. The smartest decision is to put yourself in the role that you're supposed to be in, transition those clients to your team members so they are still a part of your brand, still a part of your salon, and you're still generating the revenue from them. So I understand the way you guys feel, but Your job is to grow your team and take care of your family. And the only way that you can truly do that is being in that CEO role. Think about it this way. I know when I was behind the chair, I would go home and I was never fully present with my family. Never. When I was able to get in that CEO role, I didn't have to divide my time between being behind the chair, right? That service provision role, trying to lead the company and trying to be a wife and a mom. It was so much easier because it was like business strategy here, 9 to 5, and then wife and mom the rest of the time. And so I promise you, if you guys will just find a way to get it done, don't jump out from behind the chair tomorrow. You need a plan, but once you get it done, you will see growth that you never thought possible, and not just in numbers, not just in numbers, in so many different ways. You will find a passion that you never thought you would ever have again. And Chandra was one of the ones that pushed me on this a lot. That's her passion, right? Doing hair. I mean, I love doing hair. That's why I started doing it. But you will find passion in a whole different way. I will take my passion over helping my employees and my business every single day over doing a hairstyle, over doing a haircut, over doing a hair color. So I promise you guys, it is worth it. Okay, we're about out of time. Here's the bottom line, guys, that we want you to kind of take away. Culture doesn't collapse overnight. You have to remember that. It unravels in all the little places where you are letting accountability slide. But the good news is you can reset it. I've done it. Chandra's done it. You can do it one standard at a time, one conversation at a time. Culture isn't about keeping everybody comfortable, though. It's about creating this environment where people actually grow, where clients actually stay, and where the business is actually profitable and thriving. That's what it does. If you are ready to go deeper, to build the systems, the pay structures, the leadership tools that make accountability simple and consistent, that is exactly what we do at the Beauty Biz Agency. Our mastery program walks you through step by step. So head over to www.thebeautybizagency.com. You can download your free culture reset worksheet from this call right here. You can book a free strategy call and check out all of our coaching options and see how we can support you in building a profitable, structured, and scalable salon. Chandra, what is the one thing that you'd want to say to the owners who are still stuck behind the chair? You know, the ones who know that they're ready to change their lives and their businesses by finally stepping into that CEO role, but they just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to look at what do you want. That's what kind of where I was when I made that final decision. And just like I said, I just got over it and got doing what I was supposed to be doing, because I did not want to be doing what I was doing for the next 20 years or 30 years or whatever that is, right? So is that what you want to be doing for all that time? Like, I would ask yourself that question. And that right there, I feel like, can give you your answer as to what you should be doing next.
Yeah, it's literally the one industry that has pretty much no retirement option. One of the things that we hear all the time is that, oh, I'll sell it when I'm ready. Here's the thing. If you are generating the majority of the revenue, it isn't going to be worth crap when you go to try to sell it. You have to have a plan, guys. This is something that our industry needs to change big time. All right, that's a wrap. Don't forget that you make sure that you're listening to our podcast, The Station. Every single week, we drop new episodes on Tuesdays where we are breaking down the exact challenges that commission salon and spa owners face and giving you strategies and coaching so that you can lead with confidence. I just want to thank you guys so much for being here. We will see you on the first Monday of October. That sounds so weird, October already, right here at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now go out there, lead your culture with clarity and consistency this week, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.